Good day, everyone. So we will discuss the Title 11 of the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines entitled Crimes Against Chastity. So the first article of this title is the Article 133, the adultery, where it is committed by a woman or a married woman. So ano nga bang elements ng adultery? First is that, of course, the woman is married. Second, that nakipagtalik siya sa lalaki na hindi naman niya asawa. And third is that yung lalaki na yon is may knowledge na may asawa yung babae. Ang tawag sa kabit na babae under adultery is paramour. Wherein if he will be held liable for adultery, pwede silang ma-imprison. Kasi pag sa concubinage, kapag kinumit nila yon, ang penalty lang daw is dischero. So, going back sa adultery, sabi dito, single intercourse consummates the crime. So, it does not need to be proved by direct evidence kasi it is enough na raw ang circumstantial evidence. For example, ng circumstantial evidence is seeing the married woman and her paramour in scanty dress, sleeping together, and alone in a house. So, may question sa aming reference na maa-acquit ba yung isang party if maa-acquit ba yung isang party if na-acquit yung isang party? Yung ganong question. Ang sagot dito is no. Why? Kasi first, pwedeng both parties may have different criminal intent. May yung isa insane, yung isa sane. So, sino ang mahi-held liable dun? Of course, yung sane person. Second naman, instances na if yung man is wala siyang knowledge na kasal pala yung babae, of course, maa-acquit siya, then yung woman is convicted of final judgment. Third naman, if namatay yung married woman, tas yung lalaki na may knowledge na may asawa yung babae, pwede hindi siya grounds for dismissal ng case. Makukontinue pa rin yung trial and conviction ng lalaki. And fourth is that if the man left the country, the woman can still be tried and convicted. So, what is the difference muna ng adultery and prostitution? So, of course, parehas silang committed by a woman, no? Pero ang adultery, it is a private offense, and ang prostitution is crimes against public morals. So, sa adultery muna, pag sinabing private offense, it means that hindi siya pwede na magpa-file ng kaso yung ibang tao. Kailangan kung pag sinabing private, kung sino yung crime that cannot be prosecuted except upon the complaint initiated by the offended party. Dapat yung mismong offended party ang magfa-file ng complaint, no? Hindi dapat ibang tao. And next differences is adultery is committed by a married woman who shall have sexual intercourse with a man na hindi niya asawa. Then sa prostitution, it is committed by a woman, so single. Committed by a woman, whether married or not, who indulges sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct with another person in exchange for money or profit. Moving forward, so pari delicto is not a defense in this crime. When we say pari delicto, it is a Latin for unequal fault. Example dito is, if ako, yung asawa ko is nangabet, tas ako din, may kinabit din ako. So, hindi ko pwedeng gawing excuse na nag-commit lang naman ako ng adultery kasi kasi nag-commit yung asawa ko ng concubinage. So, it is not a defense, it is not excusable sa court. Hindi siya magagamit as a defense. Next article is concubinage, wherein it is committed by a married man. So, what are the punishable acts under this article? So, first is keeping a mistress in the conjugal dwelling. When we say conjugal dwelling, it means it is the house of the spouses, yung mag-asawa. Second naman, having sexual intercourse under scandalous circumstances with a woman who is not his wife. Third is cohabiting with her in any other place. So, mamaya may explain natin yan. Next is, a man will only be held liable for concubinage if he indulges sexual intercourse under scandalous circumstances. So, pag sa adultery kasi, single sexual intercourse lang ng babae sa lalaking hindi niya asawa, magiging held liable na siya agad for adultery. Next is I will give the elements of concubinage. First, that man must be married. Second naman is he committed any of the following acts. So, nabanggit ko na kanina yung mga punishable acts. First is keeping a mistress in the conjugal dwelling. So, in this element, no need of proof ng sexual intercourse ng both parties. Kasi, it is enough na inuuwi ng kasal ng married man yung kabit niya sa conjugal dwelling. So, what if yung kabit ng married man is yung maid nilang mag-asawa. So, according sa reference naman, hindi magiging liable yung married man ng concubinage kasi kailangan hindi nakatira yung babae. Kailangan before niya ipunta, before niya iuwi, kailangan niyang iuwi yung kabit niya. Dapat hindi nakatira yung babae sa conjugal dwelling nilang mag-asawa. Conjugal dwelling. Basta yun. Next is having second act is having sexual intercourse under scandalous circumstances with a woman who is not his wife. So it must be done imprudently and wantonly as to offend modesty and sense of morality and decency. So when we say scandalous manner, sinasabi lang dito na alam ng mga kapitbahay na nag-uuwi yung lalaki ng kanyang kabit. No? Third act naman is cohabiting with her in any other place. So, pwedeng apartment, condo. Pati dito sa element ito is no need of proof of sexual intercourse. And when we say cohabit, it means that intercourse together, parang nag-intercourse na sila together as a husband and wife. And they must be cohabiting for some period of time, like a week, a year, or longer. Then, the third element is as regards to the woman, dapat may knowledge din siya na kasal yung lalaki. Kasi kung hindi, of course, hindi siya magiging held liable ng concubinage. Next, so who are the parties included in the complaint? So, both parties. And in addition, yung penalty ng concubine or yung kabit ng lalaki is hindi siya makukulong pero dischero lang. Like mapapalipat sa ibang lugar and hindi siya pwede pumasok sa gantong lugar, sa gantong vicinity, doon lang siya. Ganun lang ang dischero, no imprisonment. And in addition, we have two excuses para hindi maging liable for adultery and concubinage ang isang person. First is pardon, second is consent. So, ano nga ba ang pardon? When we say pardon, it means that yung married wife and husband, pinatawad nila yung nangaliwa or nangabet na kanilang mga asawa. So, if voluntary nila pinatawad yung asawa nila na nangabet, pati yung kabet ng asawa nila, of course, hindi na sila pwede mag-file ng complaint. Second naman, sa consent, of course, pati dito, voluntarily, na pinayagan nila yung asawa nila ng mga bet. wala din silang karapatan para mag-file ng complaint. Pero may instances na if ever a married person na huling nagsa-sexual intercourse ang kanyang asawa sa ibang sa other party or other person, hindi naman sinasabing pwede, pero there are instances na pinapatay nila ay due to shock or surprise, due to basta shock, hindi na nila na kokontrol yung emotions nila, pinapatay nila silang dalawa. So, ang penalty lang ng nakapatay na yon is dischero and not life imprisonment or anything. Next reporter, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christian Wayne Ogayan, and I will be discussing Article 336 of the Revised Penal Code, also known as Acts of Lasciviousness. Under this article, there are three elements. The first element would be offender commits any acts of lasciviousness or lewdness. To better understand the first element, lewdness means something obscene or indecent. And the acts of lasciviousness is the purpose is to obtain sexual gratification but without the intention of having any sexual intercourse. The second element is acts of lasciviousness is committed against a person of either sex, meaning the victim may be a man or a woman, and also the offender may also be a man or a woman. The third element is it is done under any of the following circumstances. First, by using force or intimidation. Here, the offender simply scares the victim. Second, when the offended party is deprived of reason or otherwise unconscious. Here, the victim may be drunk or asleep. Third, by means of fraudulent imagination or grave abuse of authority. Here, offender may use lies or use his authority to commit the crime. Fourth, when the offended party is under 12 years of age or is demented. Meaning, the child doesn't know what is happening.
So in this video, I will be discussing the Article 337 or Qualified Seduction. Article 337 or Qualified Seduction is committed as follows. Number 1, seduction of a virgin over 12 years and under 18 years of age by certain persons such as a person in public authority, priest, home servant, domestic guardian, teacher, or any person who, in any capacity, shall be entrusted with the education or custody of the woman seduced. And number 2, seduction of a sister by her brother or descendant, by her ascendant, regardless of her age or reputation. In this case, it is not necessary that the offender is still virgin. So, isa-isahin natin. First, the first act that constitutes qualified seduction has 4 elements. First, the offended party is a virgin, which is presumed if she is unmarried and of good reputation. Number 2, she is over 12 and under age of 18. Yung victim dito is 16 and 17 years old. Third, the offender has sexual intercourse with her. Fourth, there is abuse of authority, confidence, or relationship on the part of the offender. Dito, sa unang act, may consent ang victim sa sexual intercourse. Yun nga lang, may abuse of authority, confidence, or relation on the part of the offender. Pero paano kung walang consent pero may sexual intercourse? Rape na yun. And next, and the offender is the person in public authority, priest, house, domestic, servants, guardian, teacher. The second acts that constitute qualified seduction has 3 elements para maging liable. First, those who abuse their authority are the person in public authority, guardian, teacher, or person who in capacity is entrusted with the education on the custody. Next, those who abuse the confidence reposed in them, priest, home servant, or domestic. Those who abuse their relationship are their brother who seduced his sister, or ascendant who seduced his descendant. I will be discussing Article 338 or simple seduction. Under Article 338, seduction of a minor 16 and over but under 18 committed by means of deceit. Simple seduction has 3 elements. First, offended party is over 12 and under 18 years of age, where the victim is 16 and 17 years old. Second, she must be a good reputation, single or widow. Third, offender has sexual intercourse with her. And fourth, it is committed by means of deceit, where the offender usually takes the form of promise to marry, pero ang intention niya or ang kapalit is sex. So, ano nga ba ang pagkakaiba ng qualified seduction sa simple seduction? Sa qualified seduction, the offender is very specific, where the offender are the public authority, priest, home servant, domestic, guardian, teacher, or any person who in any capacity shall be entrusted with the education or custody of the woman seduced. And qualified seduction is there is abuse of authority, confidence, or relationship on the part of the offender, while in the simple seduction, the offender are any person, there is deceit or panloloko.
Good afternoon again. Today, I will be discussing to you Article 339 of the Revised Penal Code, also known as Acts of Lasciviousness with the consent of the offended party. Under this article, it has 3 elements to be liable of the crime. The first element is offender commits acts of lasciviousness or lewdness. His acts may include inappropriate touching and fondling of any of the victim's body. And the second element is acts are committed upon a woman who is virgin or single or widow of good reputation under 18 years of age but over 12 years, or a sister or descendant regardless of her reputation or age. Under this article, it has a specific category of the victims. Unlike Article 336, it applies to everyone. And under Article 339, the woman must be a virgin. While under Article 336, the woman does not need to be a virgin. Third element. Offender accomplishes the acts of abuse by authority, confidence, relationship, or deceit. Under this third element, the abuse of authority means that the offender uses his power to or control over the person to pressure the victim in doing the acts. And confidence by using the trust of the victim in the offender to persuade the victim to participate in that acts relationship. And offender uses their personal relationship and to persuade the victim again to do the acts. And deceit, the offender may uses promises of rewards for the victim to do the acts.
Let's talk about the corruption of minors under Article 340. So the persons liable in here is any person who shall promote or facilitate the prostitution or corruptions of persons under age to satisfy the lust of another. The note here is under the present wordings of the law, a single act of promoting or facilitating the corruption of prostitution of minors is sufficient to constitute violation of this article. The illustration in here is this is usually the act of pimp who offers pleasure seekers women for their satisfaction of their lustful desires. A mere proposal would be consummate the crime, but it must be to satisfy the lustful of another, not the proponents. So the victim here is must below 18 years of age. Doing unchaste acts are unnecessary. It is not unnecessary that unchaste acts are done. Mere proposal consummates the offense. The victim must be a good reputation and not a prostitute or corrupted persons. So let's talk about the white slave trade under Article 341. So the punishable acts in here is number one is engaging in the business of prostitution. So engaging in business of prostitution refers to the act of facilitating, managing, or profiting from exchange of sexual services for money or other forms of payments. Number two, profiting by prostitution. So this is also refers to the act of gaining financial benefits or profit from the commercial exchange of sexual services. So number three, enlisting the service of any of the purpose of prostitution. So this is also referred to the act of recruiting, hiring, or arranging for another person to engage in commercial sex for work. So note here is the mere enlisting of services of women for the purpose of prostitution, whether the offender profits or not, is punishable. So let's talk about the corruption of minors versus the white slavery trade. So in in corruption of minors, it is essential that victims are minors, not necessarily for profit and committed by a single act. While in white slave trade, minority need to be established and generally for profit. And number three, generally committed habitually.
Article 342, Forcible Abduction. Forcible abduction is the abduction of any woman against her will and with lewd design. The first element is that the person abducted is any woman, regardless of her age, civil status, or reputation. Second element is that the abduction is against her will. If the female abducted is under 12 years of age, the crime committed is always forcible abduction kahit na sumama siya sa abductor. And then the last element is that the abduction is with lewd design. Always remember that the intention of the abduction is with lewd design. However, sexual intercourse is not necessary. The intent to seduce the girl is already sufficient. Article 343, consented abduction. Consented abduction is the abduction of a virgin over 12 years of age and under 18 years of age, carried out with her consent and with lewd design. So the first element is that the offended party must be virgin. Second element, she must be over 12 years and under 18 years of age. The third element is that the taking away of the offended party must be with her consent after solicitation or cajolery from the offender. Like, may solicitation para sumama yung bata sa abductor. And then the last element is that taking away of the offended party must be with lewd design. So, sa last element is that parang parehas lang sila ng purpose sa forcible abduction. However, the victim, the offended party are different. The offended party for Article 343 is a child over 12 years of age and under 18 years of age, and she must be virgin because virginity is an essential element. And the offended party of Article 342 is any woman regardless of her age, civil status, or reputation. That's all.
So Article 344 consists the process of prosecution and pardon of the crimes of adultery, concubinage, seduction, abduction, rape, and acts of lasciviousness. So first, I will differentiate the process of prosecution of adultery and concubinage to seduction, abduction, and acts of lasciviousness. So first, under adultery and concubinage, the process of prosecution is ang pwedeng mag-file lang dito is yung offended spouse. Hindi pwede yung other person kasi ang adultery and concubinage is a private offense. So kung sino ang na-offend sa crime na adultery and concubinage, siya lang ang pwede mag-file. And different siya sa seduction, abduction, and acts of lasciviousness kasi sa tatlong crime na to, pwedeng ibang person, hindi lang yung offended party ang mag-file ng complaint. Pwedeng yung parents ng offended party, grandparents, and also her guardian. And under this, as a general rule kasi, if the offended party is minor, she can still file a complaint. Pero may exception. Kapag yung minor na yun is incompetent or incapable of doing so upon grounds other than minority, syempre, her parents, grandparents, and guardians can file the complaint. Pero kapag ang offended party is of legal age, syempre, siya lang ang pwedeng mag-file ng complaint na yun. So, next, kapag pardon naman ang process, so under adultery and concubinage, no, it must be done by the offended party to both offenders. So, pardon, ang sabi sa book, pardon may be expressed or implied. So, the offended party yung offended party pwede niyang patawarin yung offenders by written agreement or verbally lang. While under seduction, abduction, and acts of lasciviousness, yung general rule dito is that hindi pwedeng mag-grant ng pardon ang parents ng offended party. Kasi kailangan muna mag-express ng pardon yung mismong offended party. Pero, of course, every rule has an exemption. Ang exception nito is kapag namatay yung offended party or incapacitated to grant a pardon, syempre dito na pwedeng pumasok yung parents, grandparents, and the guardian of the offended party. Then kapag ang offended party naman dito ay minor, no, ang general rule is dapat kasama sa decision making sa pag-grant ng pardon yung parents. Pero kapag naman namatay na yung parents ng minor na offended party, then sabi sa book is pwede na siyang mag-make ng decision on her own. So, next is, paano naman kapag yung mga crime na seduction, abduction, and acts of lasciviousness is committed by your spouse or sa husband or wife? So, ang magiging result nito is, if nag-file ng complaint ang married woman sa kanyang asawa, ay possible ito na ma-extinguish or mawala. Or pwede ring ma-remit or mabibigyan lang ng konsiderasyon sa maging penalty ng offender. Then, next is paano naman kapag ang crime of rape is committed by the husband. So, it is called as marital rape, no? So, as a general rule, kapag pinatawad ng married woman yung kanyang husband, of course, ma-extinguish yung criminal action ng kanyang husband. Pero, however, ang crime ng rape shall not be extinguished or hindi mawawala yung criminal action ng lalaki kapag yung marriage is void ab initio. Void ab initio means that an action that never had legal effect. So, from the beginning pa lang, hindi talaga sila kasal. So, kapag nag-file ng complaint yung babae ng rape sa lalaki, hindi ma-extinguish yung criminal action na na-commit ng lalaki.
Now let's go to Article 345 or civil liability of a person guilty for the crimes against chastity. All crimes covered in this title are mentioned by my fellow reporters while ago. Now let's go to the civil liability of a person guilty for rape, seduction, and abduction. First, to indemnify the offended woman. If you say indemnify, to compensate, or ibig sabihin mag-comply, provide him to lessen the harm that the harm or the loss na ginawa mo. Two, to acknowledge offspring unless the law should prevent him from doing it. Ibig sabihin nun, you need to acknowledge the child na kung ano yung dinulot mo, o kung ano yung naging bunga ng ginawa mo sa babae. Unless pinagbawalan ka ng court or pinagbawalan ka ng law na i-acknowledge siya. The last one is, or number 3, in every case to support the offspring. In this part, you need to provide him, or for example, you need to send him school, give him money or her money, provide him clothes, shelter, whatever he needs or he wants. Now let's go to the civil liability of the adulterer and concubine. If we say adulterer, a married woman having sexual intercourse with another man. If we say concubine naman, it is a married man having intercourse with another woman. To identify for the damage caused to the offended spouse. Ang victim dito po ay yung mga anak po nila. They need to compensate to their child or to their spouse to lessen the loss, harm, even it's physical harm or emotional harm. They need to compensate to lessen the harm or the loss na dinulot nila sa mga bata. Now let's go to Article 346 or liability of ascendants, guardians, teachers, or other person entrusted with the custody of the offended party. In this article, it is specific for the ascendants, guardian, teachers, or other person entrusted with the custody of the offended party. Crimes covered: rape, acts of lasciviousness, qualified subduction, simple subduction, acts of lasciviousness with the consent of the offended party, corruption of minors, white slave trade, forcible abduction, and consented abduction. All these crimes are mentioned by my fellow reporters. Now let's go to the liability of the ascendants, teachers, or other person entrusted with the custody of the offended party. Person who cooperates as a compliance in the perpetration of crimes covered are punished as a principal. There are ascendants, guardians, curators, teachers, or any person who cooperates as a compliance with the abuse of authority and confidential relationship. In this liability naman, any person na tumulong sa offender na gawin yung crime na ginawa niya are punishable din as a principal offender. Parang parehas din sila ng gumawa mismo. That's all. Thank you, sir.